Well, it's actually a wonderful way to experience the vibration of the great masters through music, because music really goes to the heart. And we don't often, at least here in India, get to listen and appreciate these songs that Swamiji wrote. But he really went to the land of Israel, the Holy Land, and he meditated in all the places where Jesus was, where something happened, and he got different melodies from the life of Jesus, and he composed a whole oratorio, 40-some songs, from before Jesus was born till after he resurrected. And it's a wonderful way for us to tune in. And because I'm aware that many people here actually are not aware so much of the story of Jesus, I just wanted to summarize it very briefly of why we are even celebrating Easter now. I come from a Western culture. I was born in South America. And all I knew about Easter was Easter eggs. I knew the chocolate. We were chocolate bunnies and all those things. I was so happy all the time. And it was only till I got to Ananda, actually, that I started to realize what Easter actually was. But if we sum it up very briefly, the life of Jesus, we know Christmas Day was where the wise men came. And, it is interesting at the age of 12, from the age to 12 to 30, is what is called the missing years of Jesus' life, because things were recorded to the age of 12, but then after that suddenly it all disappeared. Now there are different theories of why it disappeared, and I'm not going to get into that, but what Yogananda just said is that Jesus Christ actually came to India during those missing years. I'm not saying that all of those years he was here, but he was traveling, he was learning, and he was teaching. In fact, if you go to Ladakh and some other places, there are records of Jesus having been there. He went by a different name. I can't remember right now what name Isa, yeah, exactly. And then after that, he went back and his mission really began. But he said that, Master said that Jesus basically paid a return visit to the three wise men who had come from the East. He learned different things. He probably learned a meditation technique like Kriya Yoga, and he taught that to his disciples as well. And then over the 3 years, he, all the events of his life that we know. He went to John the Baptist to get baptized. He got tempted by the devil, and many, many different things. But what we are concerned about right now is the last few days that we had. Actually, last Sunday, because we were busy with Holi, we didn't necessarily put any emphasis that it was also what is called Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday was when Jesus Christ went to Jerusalem. And of course, there was a lot of rejoicing going on because many people felt that that was where he was going to proclaim himself the king of the Jews and the king of the land in an earthly way. Because at that time, the people of Israel were actually under the Roman dominance. They were actually having conquered by the Romans, and they were, oppressed by the Romans. So everybody thought that he was going to be the one who brought them out of that. But he was not able to spend a lot of time in Jerusalem because last Friday, let's put it this way, is what is called Good Friday, which was when he got crucified. Now, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. It's not a long time that he was able to stay there in Jerusalem before he got persecuted and crucified. And the very interesting thing is that he was not crucified by the Romans. I mean, he was, but he was not persecuted by the Romans. They didn't really see him as a threat so much because he was not doing anything political against them or anything like that. He was just preaching. The people who persecuted him were the priests and the religious people of his time, because he was talking against what their dogma was. At that time, people were really much rule-bound by dogma, and Jesus came to show also the way of love, the way of the Heavenly Father, how we have to love the divine. And, even love is more important than fixed rules and dogmas. And they didn't like that, of course. The people liked it, but they didn't like it. And then he got crucified, of course. And of course, in the day of Easter, he resurrected. The story goes that Mary Magdalene, one of his disciples went to where he was buried. Not buried, he was put basically in a cave, and a big stone was rolled over the entrance of the cave. They used to do that in those times. And when she went there, she saw the stone was rolled out, and Jesus' body was not there anymore. And it is said that Jesus came to her also in the form of a gardener, even though she didn't recognize him. And these very famous words, he said, like, "Why do you seek the living in the land of the dead?" Basically, something like that. I'm paraphrasing right now. And just saying that, of course, he was not dead, he was alive, but even in a deeper way. Now, going to Yoganandaji's life, when he passed away, there was a particular disciple who was very, very sad and weeping a lot, and obviously like disciples would be. And I believe Yogananda came in a vision right there to someone else who was there, and he said, like, "I am not there," pointing at the body. "I am not there." It was an experience that I had also when Swami Kriyanandaji passed away, and we went to see his body and pay homage in Assisi. Not that I saw Swamiji, but my first feeling when I saw his body lying there, I said, "He is not there." Why do we seek that which is alive, very much alive, that consciousness that is so alive? We seek it in the outer form. And of course, Jesus was referring to that, not mostly to that than anything else. That why, seeking in the form that which should be alive within yourself and has to be alive and resurrected within yourself. But nevertheless, he also did resurrect in the physical body. And it is said he appeared to the disciples not long after. And he actually kept appearing to different people for 40 days until he supposedly ascended into heaven after those 40 days. But we know that he has appeared throughout the ages to many great souls, many saints, and many regular people as well, as long as their hearts are open. Now, there's a fun story that Yoganandaji used to tell. He used to tell the story of a particular janitor called Jim Brown. Now, he was a black man, and he used to clean the church every single day. And very diligently, very lovingly, he used to do this. And one day, he went to Sunday. He went with his family, and he wanted to go to the Sunday service, because he had been cleaning this church and all these things. But the person at the entry, I think it was the priest, he said, "Oh, sorry, Jim, you cannot come inside. And you have to understand, if I let you inside, everybody else is going to be upset." And you had to understand also, especially more so in the early 1900s, there was a lot of racial prejudice. And so he said, "No, if I let you inside, everybody else will be upset, and I just cannot allow it." And of course, Mr. Jim was very, very sad about this. He had gone with an open heart, and he was weeping in his house, and just saying, "I wanted to go to the church, and they didn't allow me." And he had Christ appeared to him at that time, and Christ told him, "Oh, don't be sad, Jim. That church has been open for 20 years. I have been trying to get there for the last 20 years, and I also have not been allowed to go inside." And of course, we understand that means people's hearts were not open. He was trying to go to people's hearts in the church. He always tries to go into people's hearts. And it's not just Christ, it's more the consciousness that he represented, the Christ consciousness, the consciousness of joy, of freedom, that all these masters and many other great masters have brought into this world. They are waiting for us to let them in. And this song is beautiful. The last one that they are all beautiful, but the last one. "Long we fear to face your love, lest or emptiness it prove." Many people are afraid to open their hearts to that heart, because then once you experience a little bit of that, you will realize that everything else that you thought, everything else that you kind of attach yourself to increase your sense of self-worth is really nothing. And then you feel empty. You feel that compared to that love, to that joy that is inside of us, everything else is nothing. And many people are afraid of that, to see that everything that they have fought for, everything that they have believed, maybe, depending on the person, of course, it's actually nothing. But then, now our hearts we give you. Or when we sing, door of my heart, I keep open for you. And it says, who remain our friend? That even if we have ignored the divine for incarnations, for all of our lives, as soon as we open our hearts, he will come, because he's ever our friend, he's ever eager to be there with us. He doesn't care how much we have ignored him, in a way. He just cares of how much we open our hearts. And yes, many a times he doesn't come, right? We feel like our heart is open and all that, and he doesn't come. In fact, a disciple of Yogananda told Yogananda, it's like, Master, I long for God and I keep myself open so ardently. Why doesn't he come? And Yogananda ji just said, that is what makes it even better when he does come. That he does play a little bit this thing with us. It's not enough like say, okay, God, I open my heart. He wants to see, to test a little bit. Are you really open? Is this really true what you're saying? And then maybe he'll give you a little something, and then he'll give you a little, and then wait and see if it's just you're just saying that until you find the next thing that you want, the next desire comes. Okay, well, I guess I'll do that later again. He tests the devotees that way to see how open we really are. There's a wonderful story of Yogananda. Now again, had to put it into context. Yogananda went to the US in the 1920s, and he was there till 30s and 40s. And probably many people, he was the only Indian person that they ever saw in their lives at that time. He really did stick out in the crowd. And this one was, he was in a train. Now, many stories happened with Yogananda when he was in a train somehow. But he was in front of someone, and he could see that this person was very sad and upset, right? And he was there, and he asked this man in front of him, "Sir, are you happy?" And this Yogananda just said, like, this man tried to kill me with his gaze, He like, why are you even asking me these things? Probably he was already grumpy, and how dare this person ask me that? And he was gazing at him, looking at him for a while. And he said, "Is this your business?" And Yogananda just said, "Well, in fact, yes, it is my business, because I have come to resurrect the walking dead. I have come to resurrect the walking dead." And after that, they had a little conversation, both of them, but they didn't have enough time to finish the conversation. So they agreed that they will meet each other after some days, because they were in Boston at that time, both of them. And a few days passed, and Yogananda went where this person had worked, and he inquired about him, and the people said, "Oh, you don't know, he actually passed away." So they never really finished that conversation. But it also brings me back to a story of Jesus, that when one of the disciples was ready to go and follow him in his early years of this mission, or early month, or whatever you want to call it, because there were 3 years, and the disciples say, but sir, wait, I want to go and bury my father who passed away. And Jesus says, "Let the dead bury their dead." Again, saying, let those who are not living by a higher, obviously those times were very different than these times, but basically, why be so concerned by things of this world, or by people who really don't share any high values with you? Let them do their things. You do your things. In a way, he was speaking about the importance of having the right environment and the right people in your life. Of course, it doesn't mean literally this in all of our lives. We live in a very different age. But that was the principle. Let the dead bury their dead. Let the walking dead walk with the walking dead. That we should be careful in that way who we are with, to be with those who have something that will help us also uplift ourselves, and we have an actual exchange of energy with them. Now, Yogananda ji said that resurrection, really what it means is any positive or uplifting change in our lives. That is the real meaning of resurrection, that we should always seek to resurrect ourselves from negative thinking to a little more uplifting thinking or positive thinking, from wrong habits, let them go and cultivate some good habits, from error, from ignorance to wisdom, from sadness, sorrow to inner joy. Those are the kind of resurrections that really we can and should work on, because certainly I doubt very few of us will, when we pass away, will come back and resurrect our bodies in the physical way in this particular manner, but it really doesn't matter. And Jesus did this, but many great saints have done this concept of resurrecting their body. We hear Lahiri Mahashaya has done it, Swami Sri Yukteswar has done it, and many, many other saints. So it's not a unique thing, and it's not something that necessarily we have to imitate. We just want to go to the inner, the meaning of this. And it's very interesting because the crucifixion and the resurrection just happened 3 days after each other. In a way, it shows the duality of how it happens in our lives as well. It happens first that, it shows that swing of Maya, of delusion, that always if we go too much into sorrow, a certain joy, happiness will come. Then again, sorrow and joy, that duality of this world. As long as we live in the world and we are putting our energies out in the world, we are going to experience these things. But also there is, of course, other things. That isn't it so that more often than not, we decide to change ourselves when we feel crucified, quote unquote, when situations happen that bring you down, when somebody is very mean to you, when you are doing a bad habit so much that you become sick of yourself, and again, in those times of crucifixion, of weakness, or not weakness, of trial, I should say, those times of trial are usually the times when we decide to resurrect ourselves in some better way. And it's been designed that way, of course, because if there was not those periods of suffering or those periods of pain or whatever you want to call it, we would never aspire to something higher. But also, Jesus gave us a very wonderful example here, because if you remember, among his last words when he was crucified were the very famous words, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." Now, Master tells something very interesting, that Jesus did not suffer in the cross, he said. His suffering was for mankind, for their ignorance. They had, rejected God, basically. But his body did suffer, because he was in a physical, even though he was a great master, a great yogi, his body did suffer, but he in himself did not suffer. And again, this is a very wonderful example, because if all these great masters were to come and, he was crucified, so what? Put another nail, please, What will that do? We will say, oh my God, he's so great. I bow to you and that's it. But no, he went through the motions, so to say, that, show that his physical body is in pain. But even in the midst of pain, his thoughts were uplifted, his thoughts were for other people, and it was inspiring, and it was liberating. And it's a perfect example for all of us too. In the midst of our suffering, are we able to think of others, to expand ourselves, or we contract into our own little selves and just think, oh, what about me, and go even more and more into our sorrow and suffering and pain? So there's so many lessons that we can learn from the life of Jesus and the great masters and this principle of resurrection. But we had to also understand that how do we do this resurrection? Well, yes, one is that there is a concept, yes, whenever we suffer, usually is when we say, okay, I want to change my reality, let me put energy to change my reality. That's one aspect of it. And sometimes when the moment the suffering ends, we say, oh, I guess I'm fine, and we forget about it. The other one is the way of joy, the way of enthusiasm, like we read, inner joy expressed in this world. That in the moments of joy, in the moments of silence, are actually the times that we can change ourselves the most. That is why, we have shared with many of you, there's a Kriya retreat coming up. Times like a Kriya retreat that we all just go and spend a few days meditating, doing Kriya with other Guru Bhais, just focus on our inner life. We experience some of that joy and say, oh, I want to live more by this. What can I do in order to live more in this inner joy? Time of seclusion, so important. Yogananda used to say, seclusion is the price of greatness. In those times that we can really go within ourselves, feel a little bit, even a little bit, a touch of that inner joy, that peace, that silence, can really be a great energy to transform yourself. That is why many times in meditation, after meditating after a few years or even a few months, we can't recognize ourselves, because from within we are changed, we are resurrected. So the combination of these two, doing the inner work, but also day by day saying, how can I improve myself? How can I have any beneficial change, especially in those circumstances which I know are challenging for me? What can I do in order to become better, to resurrect my consciousness? And me too. I can be like Christ. I can be like Yogananda, like Lahiri Mahashaya, like Babaji. They have come to show us that we too can do all these things, and we will also in the end. So with that, let us keep this message very much in our hearts. That's what Master and Swamiji came to tell us, that we have to really do this work. Now, before we do Arti, let's sing the next two songs. Now, Easter is a time of joy. It's not a time of sorrow. And this next song, Christ is Risen, is actually a very upbeat song and very joyful song, because it really shows again what must the disciples have felt and what we should also feel in the presence of the divine when Christ is risen, is resurrected. So what we'll do is we'll listen. It's a very short song, so we'll listen to it once and then we'll listen to it and sing together. Okay? Okay, let's sing it together. Nobody be shy. Don't worry. The music is loud enough that nobody will hear you. Okay, but you can see how the spirit of joy of, wow, when Christ is resurrected, His light is resurrected within us, of course there's going to be joy. And in a way, this should be the message more of Christianity than the crucifixion, should be the resurrection of Christ. All right. is risen this Easter morn, thus our lives to joy are born. He from death is ever free, in his life in so are we. Gone our darkness, vanished forever, in our souls thy light we see. Gone our delusions, clear now our vision, in thy joy we live ever free. Christ is risen this Easter morn, thus our lives to joy are born. He from death is ever free, in his life in so are we. Gone all our darkness, vanished forever, in our souls thy light we see. Gone our delusions, clear now our vision, in thy joy we live ever free. Gone our delusions, clear now our vision, in thy joy we live ever free. Very nice, very beautiful. Now we'll do the last one, Thy Light Within Us Shining. And this is the last song of this whole oratorio of 40 sub-songs. And many of you may not know, but Swami Kriyananda, whenever he will give lectures, especially in his later years, at the end of every lecture, he will have us sing this song for the whole audience. And this one, or the song called Peace. And really, if you see the words, it represents the legacy of Christ. That light, and again, Christ meaning the Christ consciousness that was manifested through Jesus and through all the masters. That light is within us, is guiding us, and is the thing that is going to guide us out of our bondage. So we'll do it a little bit differently. We will play it and sing along, but when the song finishes, we'll sing it one more time without the music, okay?